All right, welcome to the first episode of Survivor LU After Party. I am your host, Sam Jenkins, and with me is my former Survivor LU Genesis tribe mate, Ellie Steiger, who competed on the Tigers tribe with me. How are you, Ellie?
I am doing well. How are you?
Good. I almost forgot we had this, and then I remembered last second. But we're going to get right into it. So, first thoughts right off the bat, season two, episode one premiered last night. People will be seeing this at a different time, but last night it premiered after a year-long hiatus and not seeing anything from Survivor LU. Finally, season two came out. So, what were your thoughts seeing the episode, especially the fact that our season, came out or it was filmed literally months before season two premiered?
I really enjoyed the episode a lot. I think the cast is incredible. There's a lot of really big characters and really interesting people. I think the dynamics are really cool. And I really do like the tribe split. I think that was really interesting. Probably like my favorite part though is the twist, which is, I mean, it's at odds, but I love that idea. It's so unique and it's nothing that's been done before, even in the real show. So I just thought that that was genius, having them roll the die, but then also bringing that into future challenges so that now there is a punishment for getting second place. It's that, oh, you don't know who you're going to be sitting out next week. It's not just getting off, scot free and moving on, but actually having a bit of a consequence. I just thought that twist was genius. I loved it.
Yeah, I also because I was on the crew for season two, so we wrapped season one a month later. We're filming season two, and I thought it was so interesting seeing like the new players come in and experience what we just went through, and I thought that was so interesting seeing them like the same bright-eyed people, the same exact reactions to walking in. So, how do you think it would compare doing like you filming season one to you now watching season two and seeing all these fresh faces experience what we did?
I I feel like I can understand some of their perspectives a little bit in the sense of like I think quite a few people, Ethan, even Rachel, maybe Hallie, a few of them not really realizing how much time and effort is going into the game, how hard some other people are playing. I think Ethan had that moment where he was like, people care about this way more than I do. I know for me, I had that same thing after week one. I called my mom and I was like, Mom, this is kind of serious. Like, I didn't realize. But so I think it's been really interesting seeing that. And then also, I do feel that there has been already some changes from our season in the sense of like old school shifting a little bit more new school. There's people from opposite tribes that are meeting up, and we never had that in our season.
Yeah, I thought it was super interesting because I feel like it's such a different tone than our season. It feels a lot more cutthroat right off the gate. Because when we did Genesis, we were figuring everything out because we were all Survivor super fans. Like we all desperately wanted to play, and us being super fans was our downfall ultimately. And with these guys, like they're like half the cast hasn't even seen the show. They were recruited by us. Like Delaney was recruited by Dawson, and I think so was Madeline and a few other people. So I just thought like it has such a different tone than season one, like almost like a little bit, yeah, like a little bit darker. I
Yeah.
kind of like that. So speaking of the twists, the one all guys tribe, one all girls tribe, and one guys and girls tribe. Um, I'm curious what you think and how you feel that's going to come into play later, because like Victoria said, the girls don't have the physical strength, but they have the mental strength. The guys have the physical strength. I feel like Kalahari has a bit of both, yet they sucked at the first challenge. How do you think that's going to come into play in future episodes?
I it's hard to say. I think what happens, not to be super stereotypical, but I think a lot of the girls are going to bond and build really, really close friendships because girls tend to not just talk about strategy, but it's oh my gosh, like, let's go get coffee, let's go do things, let's talk about life, let's be, really chatty and social. Whereas I think the guys are maybe going to be a little bit more like cutthroat, a little more competitive with one another. So I think in the case of a merge or a swap or something, the girls might be able to find the cracks a lot easier and kind of take over. And as for the Kalahari tribe, I think they have work to do. I think right now the three guys are kind of running the show a little bit. Just from the way we were able to see in the episode, it really seemed like the three girls weren't, I don't want to say weren't trying, but they definitely weren't as into the game as the other three guys were. So I think that'll be really interesting too moving forward.
Yeah, which is why it kind of stinks that Rachel's vote out was so obvious, because at the end of the day, with somebody like that, it's not always going to be a secret of who's voted out. I just thought it was frustrating to watch Hallie and Lily and Rachel play right away, because it doesn't seem like they're there yet. When they have someone like CK who is right there,
Yeah.
immediately in, and he's not getting targeted, which is, if I had that figured out in Genesis, I would have loved to adopt a little bit of what CK had, because that's exactly how I wanted to play. But it's weird because we didn't do cross tribal stuff ever, and in this season you see Jai having an influence on the Rachel vote, and in future seasons I'm sure it's going to come into play later. So right off the gate we meet all these big players. Who so far is your favorite, and who do you think, from what, because you know a little bit more because you're within the Survivor community, based on a first time viewing, if you hadn't known what you know, who do you think would win the whole thing, and who is your favorite?
Goodness. I think right now my favorite player, or who I thought had the best episode, is definitely Sophie. I mean, I was just wow, very impressed. What a social game to build those alliances and meet people, be so close to them that they give you idol clues, which I know there were some past relationships there that contributed to that, but still, and not have a target on her back. You know what I mean? And have an idol in her pocket. That's so impressive. In terms of her winning, though, it's going to depend, because if all of that comes to light, I mean, she's in trouble, with when people start talking, if there's a tribe swap. So in terms of who I think is maybe in a good position to win, I think right now one of the best positions in the game maybe would be Chadwick, honestly, because I feel like on the guys' tribe, he has been very low key. He stayed out of the drama. He has gained the trust of John, which, good, kind of bad, but he has pretty valuable information, which is that John has an idol. And whether he decides to stick with John or jump off the sinking ship, that's valuable information that he can use, to do that. So I think from first episode, I think that Chadwick's put himself in a very, very good position.
Unlike our season, this season had that twist where a leader was assigned. So instead of someone trying to take control like Luke and Nathan on Gihan, or with Nate and Dawson and Nicole on our tribe, John kind of is a really weird combination of contradicting himself and also not telling anybody anything, because in the first scene he's like, I'm not telling anybody, and then in the next scene he's telling everybody, and it's clear people already have stopped trusting him. How do you think that's going to factor into his game later, even if he's the leader of his own tribe that they elected him?
I honestly have been trying to figure out John's game since watching the episode, because I can tell he's very smart. I can tell he knows the game very well. But also on the flip side of that, I feel like it's a foundational Survivor rule. If you find an idol or something, don't tell anybody. Like, you just don't do it. And I think he gets confused when it comes to strategizing and being social, and I think he kind of blends them together. And there's definitely a difference there. You could be very social with somebody without telling them your strategy and putting
Right.
them in. Do you know what I mean? And so I think I've said this, but I feel, you know, the game of college Survivor especially is a marathon, and he's just coming out sprinting right away. You know, I think that the idol has kind of gone to his head a little bit, and he feels a bit invincible.
Yeah.
And it scares me for him moving forward because people are seeing that. I mean, he's literally flashing a target on his back right now. And all it would take is for Chadwick to see that people are paranoid of him, and Chadwick's like, oh, guess what? And blindside just like that.
He said something kind of interesting where when he found the idol, he automatically was like, I'm now safe. No, you're not, because that could be, you could be voted out with that thing in your pocket.
It can be your greatest weapon or your greatest downfall.
Exactly. We've seen it so many times.
Mhm.
So with the outside relationships we saw with Jacob and Sophie, we saw with Delaney and Austin. Clearly they went into the game having these friendships. And while they're not at light yet, they could be soon. So do you think that Delaney and Austin are going to have to rely on their relationship with each other to get them through? Or do you think at some point they're going to realize this is going to hurt us if it seems like we're too close? And the same question goes with Jacob and Sophie.
I think that there's definitely a balance with it. I think that numbers can be an absolute asset to you. And then also, there are times when you do need to break off from those people. You know what I mean? I think because of the separation of the girls and the guys tribe, you know, if they do it correctly. So if Delaney is able to get a really strong alliance with Victoria and her name just left me, Sophie. And then also then if Delaney's with Austin, right? Yeah, Austin's able to get really good bonds with some of the guys. Well, then come a swap or a merge, their alliances can protect one another and they can move themselves forward in the game without anyone necessarily knowing. You know what I mean? So I think if they play it right, it can definitely benefit them. But if they are too obvious with it and make it public, that's a big target. And that's someone that's really easy to vote out right away.
Yeah. I agree with everything you said. So when it comes to voting, and one of the last few things we can talk about is Kalahari's tribal. They get there, as you said before, it's looking like the three guys and a little bit of Hallie are running the show. Rachel is voted out in a 4-1-1 vote, but Idris put a vote on Lily because he wants to make sure if Rachel plays an idol, it's not one of my guys that goes home. Are you worried for Lily in the future? And I know you guys are friends in real life, so you can't really speak too much on it. But from an outside perspective, and if you were in Lily's shoes, how would you react in that moment when the very first tribal council, your name is up there? Would you continue doing the same thing you did and trying to be like, oh, King CK, I will do whatever you say? Or would you be like, it's time to find out who did this, who is leading the votes, and take him out? How would you, Ellie from season 1, approach playing if you were here on season 2?
I think if a vote was thrown on me, I would be like, oh crap, maybe I didn't have as good of a handle on this as I thought I did. And I think that's the realization. Like I said, I feel like the 3 girls on the Kalahari tribe maybe weren't putting in as much effort as they needed to. They felt like talking to 1 or 2 people and they were good. And I think hopefully my hope is that this one vote on Lily is going to be kind of the kick in the butt for her to say, shoot, I got to get up. I got to play this game because other people are, you know, so it's not necessarily finding out who had the vote, who threw the vote on her and going after them. But a key in Survivor is never letting them never showing them that you're mad because then you're an enemy. But instead going to Idris and saying, hey, I get why you did it. It's all good. But like, I do want to work with you. I don't want this to be a wedge between us, even though in the back of her mind, probably shouldn't trust him because he was willing to get rid of her.
Right.
But she needs to try to get herself in there and make herself more indispensable to the tribe because she shouldn't be the one that they want to throw the vote on.
Exactly. And the other vote was on Hallie, and Hallie immediately kind of doesn't know why she's here, but she's here and she's playing now. Same thing goes with Ethan, who's just now understanding the game. We saw in his confessional when he realized, oh my gosh, people are actually caring about this. Austin, who's realizing the same thing. Do you think these non-fans of the game playing among all these super fans, so you have Austin, not a fan, but playing with Delaney, Hallie, not a fan, but playing with CK, Ethan, full of super fans, like he might be the only person on his tribe who hasn't seen the show. How do you feel like they're going to adapt to the game, or will they at all?
I think that, I mean, it's a question of will they not. But I know for me coming in, I hadn't seen the show since I was a kid. So I started watching Survivor again after the first week had gone by. Then I was like, I should probably, people care about this. I should probably watch the show. So I started watching, but I feel like because it is so long over the whole semester, as long as you're putting in the effort, you very quickly kind of learn what you're doing. And I think that everybody here, from what I've heard from confessionals, everybody's smart. Everyone seems relatively social. And whether you know the game or not, they all seem pretty competitive. So they'll learn quickly. I really do think. If they don't, they're going to get voted out. So
Yeah. And I think what makes Survivor LU so much different than the actual Survivor show is that not only is it just college students, but it's people who are also here just to have fun. And the regular show, it's all these super fans, people who've been dying to play the game. But in season 2 and seasons beyond, we'll meet people who haven't really seen the show, but adapt so quickly. So I really want to see Ethan, Hallie, Austin, even though I know what happens because I'm the editor. As a fan, I know I would want to see these people succeed. So I can't wait for the rest of the season. We have a sneak peek of the next episode of Survivor LU, so take a look. Next time on Survivor LU, John tries to form an alliance with the All Guys tribe and the All Girls tribe to team up against Kalahari, leading Ethan to form an alliance of his own.
If I get outed, I want one of them to win.
Meanwhile, trust is broken within the Kalahari tribe.
I'm really sorry that I lied to your face. I feel like dirty now.
And on the Tiwi tribe, Melanie wants to form an alliance to take out Delaney.
I gotta try and rally the troops and take her down.
That is it on this episode of Survivor LU Afterparty. Thank you, Ellie, for hopping on the first episode, and we will see you guys next time with our recap.